Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Across the Pond. I need to come up with something to make these intros a little better. They're just kind of friggin' dull now. I don't know what to do, but you know, it is what it is. Welcome anyway, like I said, to Across the Pond, the podcast where I talk to strangers from around the world. Today I get to speak with Tony. He is an indie filmmaker. That's what I'll say about Tony. Because here's the thing. He explains so much that I just never really thought about when it comes to filmmaking. I say this a few times throughout, but the knowledge that he passed on to me just about the ins and the outs of filmmaking was quite interesting. It was really cool. I had such a great time learning. It was awesome. I hope that you guys enjoy the conversation that I had. I hope that you can learn something as well. And here's the thing. If you want to get into filmmaking or creative writing, you should 100% listen to this because it will definitely change your outlook on kind of how things are going to go. Here's Tony. Tony?
Hello. Yes. Hi,
Yeah.
Daniel.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. I'm real sorry about the whole time thing and whatnot.
No problem. Like I said, oh my goodness, I had to stay in bed an extra hour.
Yeah, like so to kind of give you a little bit of a thing, just so you know, my wife, she's a substitute teacher, right? And today was one of her days subbing, and so I just wanted to make sure that everything was all right because she's sometimes really scatterbrained and she gets really stressed out when she hasn't done something for a while, and then. Like with going to teach, she kind of she's that person to where like once she's in her groove, she's great at it, but she doubts herself sometimes. And so I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay before she left to where, it wasn't, oh my goodness, what's going on? So
Absolutely. Well, my wife was a substitute teacher up here for the last few years and
cool.
now is running the computer lab at her elementary school. So it's pretty good. She's very vital this year. So.
Is she super like tech savvy then? If she's running the computer lab?
Fair enough. She's certainly been running computers. We both got into computers right as graphics and writing were going on to the systems. We're going on to computers, so we've been around computers for a while.
Okay. So then, would you consider yourself like for example, if I was to say, like what kind of CPU are you going to get? What kind of GPU are you going to get? Would you be able to be like, oh yeah, I'd get like a Ryzen 7, and then I'd get, like a 30, like, are you kind of one of those
We're
guys?
Apple people.
Oh,
and,
no.
Yeah, no, I work for them part-time.
Oh, okay,
and,
cool.
But she's had to learn both Apple and PC as part of her job and Chromebooks. And so she knows more of that than I do, but sort of within the realm of the school necessities.
Gotcha.
That type of thing. Hey, am I sounding okay?
Yeah, no, you sound really good.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, you sound good. Thanks. Do you have like an actual legitimate like USB mic or something like that?
Yeah. It's not a great one. It's oh, I've got the wind cover over the brand. I forget, but yeah, it's not a bad one. I do a lot of sound work for films, and so I've got mics hanging around all over the place. So
cool. What kind of?
Yeah.
So yeah. Here, I'll ask this and then kind of circle back. So, what do you do? What's your profession?
Sure. So for most of my money, I work for Apple. I had been working full-time, Lordy, for close on 12 years as a teacher out of the retail stores.
Cool.
They have free classes, and so I had been doing that forever. And then I got into filmmaking around 2013. I'd actually done my first films for the store and gradually been moving into it. And this year I was able to go part-time, and that's been a huge jump for me. So I get a little bit of income from that type of stuff and some from graphics, but most of it, including that all-important healthcare, is coming through Apple, which is a pretty sweet deal.
So And kind of help me to understand just a little bit,
Sure.
because you say you do filmmaking and stuff for Apple, right?
Yeah.
So, but you also just said, the whole healthcare thing that's going through. Are you super like, what's the term? Are you kind of like in the circle, if you will, when it comes to all the stuff that's coming through Apple? Or are you kind of someone who they'll throw you an idea and then you build the video and then like you're done until the next thing?
Oh yeah, most of the filmmaking I do is freelance.
Okay.
That's my own stuff. For Apple, I'm still teaching classes, and
Oh,
we
okay.
do have classes in, light and filmmaking and audio, music, things like that. How to run your phone. We get a lot of grandparents in learning how to run their phones,
Mm,
that type of thing. So
gotcha.
they tend to be a little separate. Yeah, basically, whenever though they need a little film made at our store, they want to have something exciting to show people. I'll help with that.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just sort of like, hey, can we get something welcoming in new people? It's like, sure, let's put it together.
Neat. So then, with you being, the independent filmmaker that works at
hmm
Apple, like how well are you acquainted with those who might be, like say higher up in Apple? Are you like kind of close to them, or are you just are you
No, no,
no?
no, not in the slightest.
Okay.
No, I mean, there's about 8 million people that seem to work
True,
for
true.
them. Um, when you see something on screen, officially Apple, that's going to all be a professional set of people within their corporation.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm about a 2 hour plus drive from Central. I'm in Northern California, but
Okay.
it's a ways to go.
Gotcha. Because my impression when you were saying everything was like, if I watch an Apple ad and I see some of those
No,
really cool things, I was like, wait, is that you? That's what I thought
no,
you meant at
no,
first.
no.
That's what I thought.
No, it's all in-store stuff. It's
Yeah.
all just, ad hoc in-store stuff.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
that's how I got started.
Yeah. So with this whole filmmaking, have you done anything aside from Apple? Like, what are some of maybe your other clients, if you're able to divulge that?
Mostly it's been independent stuff. I
Okay.
work, don't want to say work with. I'm a member of a co-op in San Francisco called Scary Cow, and
Hmm.
they are amazing. They uh, basically give a place for people to come and pitch their ideas. You can, if you want to build up your chops in something, you can offer to help that person.
Hmm.
You're under no obligation to help that person. Somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to make something with, about butter. You
Hmm.
don't have to help them. But if you want to get behind the camera, you want to get behind a microphone, um, you know, do editing,
Hmm.
they will give you the option to help on that. And so everybody gets together, pitches their ideas, everybody chooses to work on whatever they want to work on. You build up all your skills. And by the time it's done, the person who wanted the film has got their little film, and you know a little bit more about editing or coloring or
Hmm.
audio production or something like that. And
Gotcha.
they turn out a whole bunch of stuff that some of it's neat, some of it's amazing, some of it, not so much.
Yeah.
Um, and they know that you're getting free help. So, if you kind of take what you get, if that's where you're at. Um, but it's been fabulous. I've been able to work on close to 50 films in different ways that I would never be able to if I was just working as a professional gaffer, say, or a
Hmm.
sound person.
That's really cool.
It really is.
Yeah. So what would be, and of course, if you can say what this is, but what would be like one
Sure.
of the biggest, most well-known, say, companies or like maybe ads that I've seen before that you've worked on?
You probably wouldn't have seen any of them,
Oh, okay.
would be my guess. All the independent stuff I do, it'll be in film festivals. I worked on one that was just stunning called Ghost in the Gun. It won a whole bunch of awards in independent film festivals as a short, a Western short.
Hmm.
It starred Tim Russ from Star Trek Voyager.
Oh,
Ask
shoot.
anybody if they've seen it. You've got to look high and low. It's one of those things. But ads and stuff like that. No, it's all local stuff. the
Oh,
Oakland Fire Board, things like that.
yeah. Okay.
City of Moraga. That, you know, it's going to be stuff like that. Bread and
Yeah.
butter.
Gotcha. I'm looking at Ghost in the Gun on IMDb right now, and it got an 8 out of 10. So congratulations.
It's a heck of a film. Yeah, I got to be one of the producers on that, and one of the co-stars, one of the lower stupid cowboys.
The stupid cowboys. Is that what the credits go to? It's not just cowboy, it's stupid
No,
cowboy.
no, no. My name in that was Coyote Gus. So
Coyote Gus. Dude, that's so
yeah,
cool.
it was a heck of a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
get shot pretty quickly, and then I just sort of lay in the dirt for a lot of the scenes. So.
Nice. So because you say you lay in the dirt, I'm kind of curious about the whole
Sure.
movie thing. So I'm not sure. I would assume that you can what's the term? Explain this to me. There we go, a little bit. But
Sure.
so let's just say I'm in a movie and I'm
Mhm.
in a Western or something, and I get shot at the beginning of a scene. I'm supposed to get shot and die. Do I literally just lay there for however long I need to lay there until the scene is done, or do they
At,
actually how does that work?
in a professional film, they'd either have a dummy or a body double or something like that. They don't expect to shoot Angelina Jolie and she's going to lay down there for a long time.
Okay.
At our level of filmmaking, yeah, I will lay there. It's sometimes in a very hectic film scene. It's nice to take a nap in the middle of it while everybody else is doing things.
Yeah,
So
that's
just so long
cool.
as the horse doesn't do any, relieve itself, then I'm in good
True.
shape.
Yeah, true. What are some of the maybe misconceptions that people have about acting or maybe even filmmaking that you feel are really large in terms of being a misconception? I'm sorry, I don't know how else to phrase that.
No, no, no. I understand the question. The biggest thing that so many people just don't get is that sound is 51% of a movie.
Mm,
People will accept anything. You can have the camera shaking back and forth, and as long as you can clearly hear the zombies are coming, run, 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 people will forgive almost any visuals.
mm,
But if you have bad sound, if it sounds like you're filming off of the camera's microphone, something like that, it immediately just pulls you out of the film,
mm.
and it just is probably one of the biggest problems. Um, People think that they can, just so long as they capture that image. No, you want to capture that sound. That's probably the
Mm,
biggest one. I've seen more movies fail on sound than anything else.
mm.
But you need good editing, you need good lighting.
Yeah, yeah,
It's definitely a lot of pieces going in. It's an incredibly collaborative art, and I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. It's something that I feel so here's the thing, of course, I have to edit this and whatnot, and
Sure.
it's definitely not on the same level as something as you, because one, this is audio, this isn't video, so
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just really, because here's the thing, you of course want to have the best audio possible,
Hmm.
and any little blip, kind of sucks, it's oh, I shouldn't have done that, or whatever it is, it's rough, right? But it's kind of cool to hear you say that it matters so much in a movie, to the point of where you would even say it's over 50% of the movie. I never would have thought that, because here's the thing, when I'm watching a movie, I'm of course focused on the visuals,
Hmm.
for example, when I saw, what was it, Marvel's Infinity War or whatever it was,
Right.
I was so just dumbfounded and so impressed with the visuals that I didn't even give a thought to the sound. It was wow, the lightning looks so real and stuff, and in my mind, that
Yep.
when all of that's happening, the sound just should naturally come with it, but I can't imagine having to try and get it just pinpoint perfect, frame perfect. Not to mention all the other
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
that are going on. You have to get it perfect. It's cool that you say that, because I've never thought about that before.
It's just astonishing the amount of time that goes into that. We're finishing up a feature film right now, and we've got a lot of really good audio in it.
Hmm.
But until it goes to the sound designer and he puts the people in their locations. He has the traffic sounds, the hum of the room. It's, it just seems flat. It just
Mm,
doesn't seem like a real thing. And one of the things I've always heard said is that you don't have eyelids for your ears.
mm,
That you can have a million sounds coming in, and all of them just go together to make up that space in ways that you don't think about because we're so visually oriented.
No, that's
So,
true. That's true. You like you almost take for granted the fact that you can hear and like the sounds will just come in, if you will.
mhm,
That's
yeah,
interesting. So I'm kind of curious as to why filmmaking. You say that you have a bachelor's of arts in creative writing. What kind of got you down this
right.
creative path? Like why go down creative writing? Why go down filmmaking?
Sure. This, a little bit of a story. I'll try and abridge it as much as possible. I had always wanted to be a scientist,
Whoa.
and I had no clue as a little kid what a scientist did. They just made things,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were cool, and they exploded, and there were sparks and stuff like that. And then I went to UC Berkeley to try and get my physics degree, and I had a heck of a time with it. I really struggled with it,
Mm-hmm.
and I had always loved science fiction. And so I said, okay, well, let me see, maybe getting my writing degree will help me get at explaining science, showing science from a different direction.
Mm.
And so I went and did that, learned how much I don't know. There's a wonderful line by Thomas Pynchon about knowing the contours of your ignorance. You don't know what you don't know, but the shape of what you don't know is, the more you explore, the more you find that shape.
Yeah.
Um, and so I worked as a writer, I worked as a graphic designer. I was able to find more work doing that out of school. And so, it's one of those things that I raised my kids at home, working, my day job. And after they got bigger, I said, okay, I'm going to really, really focus on writing. I'm going to just write and write and write my tush off.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a lot of stuff, a lot of it I'm proud of, some not quite so much, and ended up getting into this and writing really hard right as all the science fiction magazines were just kind of falling away. There wasn't a market for that type of stuff. And the amount of polish I put into things, I'd always liked playwriting. I'd always had a good time doing playwriting.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, let's just see if I can get together a couple of friends. I had a couple folks, wrote a script for them, filmed the whole thing myself over a weekend. And in the time that I was done in making something really nice to read, I had a film.
Mm.
And it worked out. The filmmaking's not that great. The sound is not that great. It's on YouTube, but it's a good story.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that it was something that I could generate a film, I had been doing that for work as well. And then I found this Scary Cow group, and it just launched my desire. It was kind of like finding your right medium.
Mm.
If you don't know if you're a singer or a player or an artist or a dancer, it's just like when you find that right media to
Mm-hmm.
work in, that right medium, it's just like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. If I want to write, I can write. If I want to ask one of my friends to write something, they're glad to do it. We
Mm-hmm.
we work something out. If I want to be with people, you just go on set. If you want to be alone, you spend the weekend scouting.
Mm.
It's everything. It's everything I wanted to do, and every skill I ever get and everything I ever learn, I can put into this, and it's great. I just love hanging out with my friends.
Mm. That's
So
really, yeah,
that's
that's
kind of the abridged version.
no, I mean it's cool to hear that you wanted to be a scientist, right? Because you don't hear a lot of kids that want to be
Hmm.
scientists, but then you're like, nah, dude, I want to go down this creative writing path. And it's funny how it's funny how you started to try and do creative writing to then understand science, but yet then you go full fledged into filmmaking. Like that's just kind of cool how that whole thing just kind of flowed together.
Right. Well, right now I'm working with a friend on, we're trying to assemble a script for a feature that is very heavily science based. It's still science
Mm,
fiction, but it's very heavily science based. And we've had to learn what we can as lay people about what they call M brains and P brains, the various multiple dimension things.
mm,
And boy, I barely get, glimpses of it. But it's fun to be able to explore that stuff and then put it into a story that
yeah,
we think is going to be able to work.
yeah.
So rather than just having we're from a different dimension, haha, I'm trying to do this from at least a scientifically grounded standpoint.
Mm,
So the people who know that stuff hopefully won't roll their eyes too much.
yeah. What would
So
so it sounds like you're more like to me it almost sounds that you care more about the story than you do the film. Not to say you don't care about the film, but you like a very deep, just well told story. What would be your most favorite I'll go with this. What would be your most
sure.
favorite like book story? Something that you just if you like reading that is. And then what would you say would be
Mhm.
like your most favorite movie franchise or trilogy, if you will, or even standalone
Sure.
movie?
Sure. Um, Boy, that's a little bit of a stumper. I'm certainly a big fan of a guy named Neil Stevenson as an author. None of his stuff has ever quite made it to the screen. One of his more famous books is called Snow Crash, which is
Mm,
one of his earlier ones. But he's done a lot of science fiction that's very heavily based in characters and people.
mm-hmm,
And he did one called Cryptonomicon, which had a 3-book series following it called the Baroque Cycle.
mm-hmm,
And it's just science, science, science with a little tiny bit of science fiction thrown in just for fun.
mm-hmm,
And they really are very fun. They get people, they get the science right. The Baroque Cycle, you get to follow just about, you take a world tour from the year 1666 until just pre George the Third.
mm,
And it's fascinating stuff. You learn about financial systems, you learn about the scientific enlightenment.
mm,
There's a lot of great things in there. Film, I mean, I'm a huge Miyazaki fan.
mm.
Um, and, all of his films are told so very, very well. It's kind of hard to call them a franchise, as it were. I'm not a Star Wars fan. I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, the Star Wars trilogy ended after the first teddy bear showed up on screen. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of where that is. And Star Trek has been spotty. I'm a huge TV Star Trek fan, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I the the films have been pretty spotty.
Mm.
So
Yeah. I'm not a big Star Wars fan either. Just because to me, Star Wars, while it might strike a nostalgic view for a lot of people, I was never
mhm.
raised on it. And then whenever I tried to get into it, it seemed just way too coincidental that everything happened. And
Yeah.
I just couldn't get behind how, oh, Darth Vader is Luke's father. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. You know what I mean? Especially watching it from 4 to 6 and then 1 to 3. Like everything seemed way too coincidental. There was always that one thing that happened. Then you're just like, of
Mhm.
course, that's Star. I just couldn't get behind it. I can see why people like it
Yeah.
because it is
No,
fun.
yeah. Yeah.
It's just
I
not
saw the
good.
first Star Wars in 1977 at a drive-in theater
Nice.
as a kid in high school, and I just was enamored. I mean, there was not a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of film science fiction at the time, and Empire Strikes Back. My girlfriend at the time had said, "Oh yeah, they're going to say something really dumb like Luke's, Darth Vader's Luke's father," and it was just so wonderful to go see that film with her and just watch
Yeah.
her go squeak, when he said that. But yeah, I first half of Return of the Jedi, thumbs up. Teddy
hmm
bears fighting. Nah.
Yeah. I feel that it's something.
Yeah,
I'll say that it's something.
I'll
It's
get
just
it. I
my
get it.
something.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's just kind of cool to hear. How you can appreciate the smaller things. especially when it comes to the book, because I already forget the author's name, but I've never heard of him before.
Sure.
And you know, talking about movies, you're like, yeah, you know, I don't like Star Wars, I don't like Star Trek, you know, like, yeah, it's okay, but you can appreciate the smaller things. Of course, you know, Miyazaki, he's not necessarily small, you know, Studio Ghibli is a pretty good company,
Right.
but
Right.
you know, it's cool to see that you like the quote unquote smaller people, you know, the not as popular people, and yet you work in an indie filmmaking crew, if that's the right term. You know, it's
Mhm.
cool to see that, you know, you are very content with where you're at. And I mean, of course, you know, you might be striving to go farther, but it sounds like you are okay with, you know, being on the smaller side. Because am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, who wouldn't want to be able to get a Marvel film handed to them? I certainly have my list of comic book heroes, that I would make a film of.
Hmm.
But it's one of those things that uh, at my age, I'm not hideously old. I'm not young though anymore,
Hmm.
and I know I'm going to have to just do what I'm able to do.
Hmm.
I've never been recognized as an artist, no matter what it seems I try to do. A lot of it's the lucky breaks. A lot of them, they say you get the breaks you make,
Hmm.
but there's luck involved in some of this stuff. I came to this with as an older person. Most of the people in my crew are a little bit older, um, but we're all passionate and friends, and we're seeing each other through,
Yeah.
and we're gonna make it work for us. And if we get 3 films done as opposed to 30, them's the breaks. We've
Yeah.
lived lovely lives so far.
Yeah. And I think that that's very valuable to hear, because there's so many people nowadays who want the biggest and best thing. They're not content with being where they're at. So then they're miserable. And they might be
Hmm.
miserable their entire career because they never get the break that they feel like they deserve or feel like they want. So being, you
Right.
know, okay with where they're at is very important, because not only are you then going to produce the best thing that you possibly can, if it doesn't happen, you're also not getting your hopes up. And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay that it might not happen. At least you're happy with where you're at.
I'm working. I'm
Yeah.
working, and I'm making myself better and making
There you
helping
go.
my friends get better, and the kids are doing okay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thumbs up.
Yeah. So you said, you know, you're a little bit on the older side. You know, you're not
Mhm.
old, but you're also not young. So how hard has it been? You know, you said you saw Star Wars in 77. So computers and stuff weren't necessarily super big back then. I
No,
don't even know
no.
if they were. When was the first computer?
Well,
Wasn't it like 80 some?
I mean, they've had computers since World War II,
Yeah, yeah,
but
true, true.
uh, I had a TRS 80 in high school, which was a Radio Shack one,
Mm,
and learned to program a bit. I was never followed it with any interest or passion.
mm.
Um, but I had one of the first word processors you could get on a PC, a Commodore 64, and it ran out to an electronic typewriter that I had, and blew away the creative writing teachers. It's like, how do you have a word processor? How is that
Yeah,
possible? You know,
yeah.
um, but like I said, I got into computers hot and heavy as desktop publishing
Okay.
became a thing.
Yeah.
So that was Lordy 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, and um, so I worked in a lot of publishing fields then, and always knew just enough to stay ahead of the curve.
Hmm.
And when web pages started coming in, everybody said, "Oh, let's put our books online." I was just like, "No, I've been doing this long enough. I'm not interested in this anymore."
Hmm.
So,
Gotcha.
um,
But
but yeah, I let's just say almost 60. How's that?
gotcha, gotcha. We'll go with that. But my question is because, you know, a tad on the older side, but you have been around computers for a while. How hard
Yeah.
is it for you to continue to learn the new video things that are coming out and stuff? Because at least in my experience, you know, I've seen a lot of people who are on the older side. They have a really hard time with electronics and just
Hmm.
trying to understand it. Has that
Right.
maybe manifested somehow, some way in your life just because of your age and the advancement in technology, or do you feel like you're pretty good at, you know?
It's one of those things. I couldn't fix a car to save my life. I've tried. I come out with bloody knuckles and oil in every pore.
Mm,
Um, there's people who, have been doing that. They love that. I'm kind of the same way with computer operating computers. I just like it.
Okay.
I'll follow it along. Most film programs follow a basic theme, just like most music programs, most email. You drop somebody who's relatively competent into any computer and they'll figure out the email soon enough.
Gotcha.
It's kind of the same thing. It's just more buttons and switches, you
Okay.
know, all the
Gotcha.
stuff people did with Scotch tape and reels of film. Now you just do electronically.
Okay.
So,
So it's not as bad as one might think, is what you're saying.
right. If
Gotcha.
you are interested in it, you certainly can follow it. And, that's one of the things I do like about Apple, that we teach kids how to do this who have never done it before. If I could get any of the grandparents to come in, without them saying, oh, I'm no good at this,
Hmm.
uh, knocking yourself down is no good.
Hmm.
You can't live your life that way. I don't know how people do that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. All right. So I'm curious with this filmmaker. Of course,
sure.
you're a filmmaker. That's what we've been talking about.
Right.
How does it go from, say, start to finish? So let's just say if I wanted to come to you and I had an idea for something, I didn't know what I wanted, but I just had an idea, and I was like, hey Tony, like, I want you to help me figure this out. What would kind of be like the very first thing, step one,
Hmm.
and then kind of how does that look going towards the final product?
Sure. The first thing you need to do is have a good story, and then you need to be able to convince people that it's a good story. If you can get people on board and invested in it, then they're interested in doing it. If the next part is going to be, I hate to say it, money.
Mm,
Where's your money coming from? Is it mom and dad? Is it a bank? Is it a trust fund? Where's it coming from? Because it is expensive to do right.
mm,
Now, you can take a Zoom camera, and on the back of your phone, you've got a better camera than, any number of people who have made brilliant things. You've got a better camera than Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin
yeah,
had.
yeah.
The lenses may not be the same, but you've got to deal with, okay, it's not a single opportunity unless you're doing something like really specific. If you want to have one person in it talking, you've got to convince your actor that you're going to be, that you've got a story worth doing.
Hmm.
Um, the more people you can get interested in something like that, the more it spreads out the financial cost, the skills that you can bring into it. And so ultimately, it's built on story, people, and then thirdly, money.
Hmm.
And once you've got those in place, then you have the ability to hire whatever skills you may be missing, um, hire better actors, get costumes, lighting, sound, all the pieces you need.
Hmm.
Then you've got to be sure that you understand scheduling or hire somebody who knows scheduling, because each person is got any number of pieces that they're dealing with as far as hardware, software, getting them all into one place, making the scene happen. Then you've got all the files. Then you've got to go and assemble them all. And, assembling them all is sort of like saying, yeah, and then we dam the river. There's a lot of pieces that come together there. And then if you want it to be seen, you've got marketing on top of that. You've got uh, people going places, talking about it. And then you've got to convince people all the way along just to watch your film.
Mm,
You do all of this work in the hopes that you can get somebody to watch it and appreciate it. And what you could do, say, as an author, where you're sitting with your book, you're typing it, maybe you've got an editor who's helping you, and then at the other end of that, you've got the reader, and maybe there's one person between you and the reader. And just so long as you can convince them to open the book and read it, you've made that connection.
Mhm.
For film, you're juggling knives while bears are chasing you around. But it's exciting as hell, so
Man, it sounds
it's a
like,
lot of fun.
yeah. So just to kind of clarify, for at least my sake,
Sure.
if I was to come to you, I would have to be doing most of the back end work, and you would pretty much just make the film, is what you're saying, yeah?
If you let's say that you were somebody who came in and said, "Hey, I'd love to make a film."
Mm-hmm.
Great. I'm not going to be somebody who just says, "Sure, show me your money," and then walk off with it. I want to have be sure that you're set up for success because that
Okay.
helps my success.
Yeah, true.
Um, and I would run you through all the difficulties about it. And then if you're still interested in it, then we would start looking at, what our next steps are. Um, but of course, you'd have to start off by saying, "Hey, I've got a story," and convince me that that story is worth telling and worth
Mm-hmm.
throwing my life into.
Gotcha. Um, how many people on average, if of course you are able to say this or want to
Sure,
say this, how many
sure,
people on
sure.
average do you like turn down?
Because I work through that co-op thing, we have kind of like a cattle call where people pitch their ideas.
Okay.
And in our group, there are people who say, all my life I've wanted to do a film, and they're passionate about it, and they've got that story together, and that works out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then you've got people who, just say, "Hey, I need a cheap film crew. You can get some experience. Come work for me."
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I might listen to them, but if they tend to be somebody who is unconvincing, um, I'm not that interested in working with them. I have worked with folks like that before. Um, and then there's people who just say, "I've got money," and I say, "I have a budget.
Mm-hmm.
Let's to meet at home. Let's get together." So it really depends on how you're going to do it. I've I've worked enough as a freelance graphic person to know that there are folks you don't want to work with. They can have all the money in the world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They could run entire casinos, etc., and never pay you.
Mm.
So there are people like that out there, and you just stay the heck away from them.
Gotcha.
But if they're pleasant, they want to hire your services, you know, great. That's all good.
Gotcha. With COVID being a thing, and
Hmm.
I
Right.
personally hate talking about COVID all the time, but I feel like this,
No, it's here.
yeah, it's here. But with filmmaking and stuff, how hard has it been to try and work around that? And
Oof.
have you had to axe a lot of different opportunities because of this?
Yes,
Ooh.
absolutely. Up one side and down the other. Um, we shoot a scene where somebody's sitting in a room crying because of how lonely they are, and there's 20 people sitting around them, um, trying to do this crammed into a room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not. I met with one of my close friends yesterday. She sat in the back seat of the car while I drove it, and she filmed, and we both kept our masks on the whole time and didn't get too close.
Mm.
So it's tough. Um, I'm spending my time right now just having fun on a podcast that I'm working on,
Mm.
and I'm waiting for my new camera to come in so that I can do some individual stuff. I want to try doing some um, blogging type of stuff around Oakland, just
Mm.
to talk about what a beautiful city it is,
Mm-hmm.
and but that's going to be simple single stuff.
Yeah.
With that in mind, one of my best films that people like so far was me sitting in a room talking in a funny voice and showing stills and telling a story.
Mm.
So you can tell a visual story, make yourself up a film strip. Art finds a way.
Mm-hmm. Man, I I like I said, I would assume that COVID would have been such a crappy thing to happen, but
Oh yeah.
so and then you might not, you probably understand this. When it comes to like bigger productions and stuff, um,
Hmm.
so of course you might have to be speaking. Let's just say like Netflix is trying to shoot Stranger Things or whatever it is, right?
Sure.
Are there certain like things like restrictions and stuff that they might have to comply to?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Um, the Screen Actors Guild has a list of things as long as your arm that we would have to comply with here in the US.
okay.
Um, just to give you a story I was reading about recently, Marvel, which has all the money in the world,
Yeah.
um, basically got all their actors, all their people they needed, flew them to Australia, which has a very strong protocol
Mm-hmm.
for this, quarantined them, and is filming the Shang-Chi film. And they're able to do it because they basically have made themselves an island, just like the NFL does. And they test people and they just keep them locked in that place making that movie.
Mm,
So it's doable. The script I'm working on right now with a friend has like maybe four main actors.
okay.
And it's one of those things that if we could ever possibly get who we needed, we could go up to Canada and shoot the thing. But we're a ways away from that. But it's written specifically to be a film that we could do in quarantine if we had to.
Mm.
So
What
it's doable.
what's one of the like more exotic places, if you will, or maybe a place that you just found really cool to be at where you've filmed?
A lot of people don't realize that in Northern California, the Bay Area, that the Bay goes into what's called a delta. And it's just as, delta beautiful as the Mississippi Delta.
Mm-hmm.
The sun shining on the water, the canals, the fields. You would never know you're in Northern California. It
Mm.
is just stunning. And then some friends of mine filmed something called Wasp Men from Mars up in the Redwoods in Northern California.
Oh, wow.
And that was also really lovely.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 1950s type of film, and they put a lot of work into that. But it's really stunning.
Mm.
Um, one of my films we did set in quote unquote Georgia in the 1950s is shot in my backyard though. So you can always find, places
Yeah,
that match.
that's cool. That's really cool. So then, of
Yeah.
course, you would probably have a studio, but then for those shots to where it's let's just say it's in Russia or something like that, like you would try
Hmm.
and mimic it, like you said, in your backyard or like maybe out in the hills or something like that.
Um, Russia, again, Northern California, thank
Yeah, true,
Jeebus.
true.
We drive up to Tahoe and you've got all the snow anybody could ever want,
Mm,
and you know, film
gotcha,
dissidents running away.
gotcha.
Uh, it's one of those things. I saw a map from the 1930s, which showed a map of California and all the different world locations. Where to shoot ancient
Oh,
Egypt, where to shoot Siberia and Sweden.
oh,
Where to
cool.
shoot Hawaii, and it was really cool. It was
Yeah,
really a lot of fun. Location scouting is
yeah.
great fun.
Yeah, that sounds really cool because I mean, to be fair, I'm not a big film person. I just watch
Hmm.
movies and that's about
Sure.
it. But to hear that you can go to all these different places just in one state to try
Yeah.
and reenact or to not reenact, but to try and encapture different countries and stuff. I didn't realize
Hmm.
that was really a thing. I thought
Oh
honestly for
yeah.
the longest time that people would like of course there's some things that you can fudge a little bit, but people like let's just say in Russia, yeah, we're gonna go to Russia. I'm like, wait, what? You can mimic that? I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And now keep in mind too, you could also hire a Russian film crew to go shoot the Kremlin for you if you can't find the exact stock footage you
Oh,
want.
true.
So it's one of those things. I mean, films do live and die on budgets. That
Mm,
is that is the third leg of the tripod there.
mm,
So uh, No, there was something else I was going to remember, but I can't. So we'll
No,
move on.
it's all good. No worries. So kind of transitioning from filmmaking real quick,
Hmm.
because I would love to keep talking about it, but there are a couple
Sure.
things that I want to ask you, just because the whole reason I started this podcast is because I like to just learn people, understand them, you know.
Hmm.
And so kind of tell me a little bit, if you could be anywhere else to do filming, like a um it's you're not in Northern California, you're in another
Right.
state or something like that. Why
Right.
would you want to go to that area to do that? Where would you want to like live?
Mm. Um, okay. As a kid, I lived in the Fiji Islands, and it
What?
was a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It was a great place to be a kid. I wouldn't necessarily want to be an adult there, but I would try writing something specifically to try and capture uh, that location, the people. It's beautiful. There are, I don't know if they're still there, but they used to have sail schooners, that
Hmm.
were just like right out of the old times. I'm a big nautical fan. Just to there's a lot of different stories that you could tell that are never told in these wonderful countries with amazing people. And there's a world of stories out there. It's just, the people with cameras tend to be here.
Hmm.
I think Nigeria would probably be another one of those places because
Oh.
they have their own film industry.
Uh-huh.
And just to learn the guerrilla filmmaking that they do, um, and to be able to bring what I know and to keep learning, that's another country that I would love to go to, and just completely different from what we're doing, completely different mindset,
Hmm.
and just learn, you know.
Mm. That's cool. So apart from filmmaking, let's just
Hmm.
say filmmaking, no, you have to take a month off from filmmaking, just
Right.
because you're supposed to, whatever, some weird rule or whatever, and
Sure.
you could travel somewhere. Where would you want to
Hmm.
go?
Korea.
Korea.
Korea. It's one of those places. I'm a huge Korean food fan.
Hmm.
Um, I know it's a beautiful country. Um, the people, the art, the culture.
Hmm.
It's definitely one of those places I would love to go. Um, there's a lot in China that would recommend itself to me, but I think Korea would probably be the first place. And my second choice would be it's one of my goals is to be allowed to film in England and just spend a year there
Mm.
filming. That would be my another choice. I'm a big Shakespeare fan too,
Mm.
so I'd just love to see that.
So, and I don't mean to go back to filmmaking, but this,
Sure.
what you said caught my attention. You said be allowed to film. Are there like different laws and stuff to where you have to get, say, like some
Oh,
sort
well,
of
no,
visa or
no, no,
something?
not so much that. It's financially allowed.
Oh,
You
okay,
know,
gotcha, gotcha. I thought,
I certainly couldn't afford to do it, and yeah,
yeah, gotcha. Okay, like I wasn't sure if there was some like weird rule or law or something to where
no,
you had to get
no,
maybe some like specialized filmmaker's passport or something. So when you said, it, I was like, wait, what? But no, that makes sense financially, because
right.
times are tough, and
Yeah,
not to
no,
mention,
well, yeah,
not to,
it's expensive.
yeah.
It's even doing it on the cheap, it's pricey.
Yeah, not to mention, you have to lug all your stuff around. I would assume you
Yeah.
would have to take your cameras and, you'd have to take your people and you have to
Oh
pay
yeah.
for housing and food and all that stuff. And that would be, oh my
Oh yeah.
goodness, too much.
Oh my gosh, it gets up there. Even doing small films, I mean, you can blow through thousands of dollars,
Oh,
just
goodness.
doing it right.
Goodness.
So,
Yeah, man, that's that's something that I don't know if I would ever want to think about trying to do a film and have to, oh, that just sounds like too much money for me.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man. But what about England just kind of is a thing, like why England?
Sure. I mean, I have zero English genetics to me, but it's the language that I'm in love with. It's the language I speak. I'm a big Shakespeare fan.
True, true.
Um, English orthography, English styles, accents, all of that type of stuff,
Hmm.
and just to see all the places I've read about my entire life would be very fun. Just to try that. I'm certainly not going to go there to try the jellied eel and the bangers and mash, but to see the lake country, to see
Mm.
um, Scotland, Ireland, all just that stuff that's all up there. I realize they're not all Great Britain, so people don't get mad. But I'm sure if I had grown up speaking French, I would want to see all the places mentioned in Alexandre Dumas or something like that. But
Gotcha.
English is what we speaks, and that's where my reading's from.
That makes sense, and I can say from experience, England is beautiful. All of Great Britain is beautiful, so you definitely be able to try and make it out there if you can once all these stupid travel restrictions and stuff get lifted. It's just it's a beautiful country, beautiful set of islands, and it's like seriously, there's so much history, and there's just so many awesome things to do. So I would definitely suggest doing that.
Okay.
If you have the opportunity. So, I want to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Well, technically speaking, two more questions, but the last question I ask everyone, and this next one is just kind of something that I'm just curious about. Why San Francisco, or excuse me, Oakland? Why that area? Like, what about it is just so cool to you?
Well, a couple different things. I had been taken around the world as a kid. That had been part of my dad's business. We grew up in a lot of different places. We ended up in California, where he was trying to get his businesses going again. And I ended up working in going to school in San Francisco and Berkeley, and I got a job at a small children's park here called Children's Fairyland.
Okay.
It was the very first park devoted for children and children's play and learning. It inspired Walt Disney, and I met a very lovely young lady there working there, and she was an Oakland native, and I became nativized, let's just say. Oakland has astonishingly good weather. There's good culture. It's a tough city. There's a lot, of poverty here, and a lot of things that we're always trying to deal with. My kids now have their roots here. And so every time I feel rootless and I say, let's move someplace else, they go, I think we're going to keep coming back here. And it's like, okay, all right.
Gotcha.
So, and we live in a forest in Oakland. We can walk to redwoods from where we are. Oakland gets, I've heard that East Oakland has the most 72 degrees sunshiny days in the country.
Oh, man.
Who knows how that may change, with climate change, etc.
True.
But, there are people from all over the world here, and you can meet anyone. You can do just about anything in the Bay Area, and my gosh, it's gorgeous. It is really gorgeous. It's not cheap, but it is really beautiful. It is really beautiful.
My brother's wife is actually from the Walnut Creek area.
Oh yes, I grew up right next to there. When we came back.
Oh man, like, I will say this: California in and of itself is a really cool state. I love Los Angeles. I love the Bay Area. Like, it's really unique and different. But man, there's something about San Francisco that's just really beautiful, with the water right there and the redwoods right there. And, you have the airport, so you're able to freaking go wherever you want. Like, it's such a beautiful area. And it really isn't that hot a lot of the time either, because you're right on the water. You have that marine layer.
We have air conditioning all summer long.
Exactly.
We have 2 days of 80-degree weather where we are, and then the fog rolls back in, and it's lovely.
And walking the pier and stuff was cool too. Like, there's just something about that area that is just so gorgeous. And so I can understand why you want to live there, because it is beautiful. It's just phenomenal. So I want to ask you one more question. This is one question that I ask everyone. Because, like I said earlier, the reason I started this podcast is to try and understand people, why they think the way they think, why they do what they do and everything. Because I feel that, especially in today's world, a lot of people are so narcissistic, and they're so self-oriented.
Yeah.
They're so they don't understand others. They don't try and take other opinions or anything. And so I feel like this next question helps try and break that a little bit, because everyone
Mhm.
needs help, you know.
Yeah.
So what would be a piece of advice or a saying or something that you would like to pass down to someone that you feel like really helped you, or you feel like really is profound in your life?
Sure. I thought about this, and the one that my wife and I keep coming back to over and over again, we see something that's really big and unconquerable, and we go, dumber people than us have done this. And so, whether we're trying to buy a house, whether we're trying to make a film, whether we're trying to, get some big project going and we are scared out of our minds, we go, dumber people than us have done this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, we'll get through it. We'll
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. Um, the other thing, though, that I just, for myself, is it took a long time for me to learn to get out of my way. I was always a bundle of nerves, and it's just like, what if this happens? What if that happens? And just to be able to quiet those voices and say, it's okay. Calm down. You'll
Mm-hmm.
be fine.
Yeah.
It'll work out. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe it will and maybe it won't, but just to not be constantly second guessing myself about everything. That was
Mm-hmm.
a tough, tough get for me.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to do is add on to it, but I feel like I have to with what you just said,
Sure.
because there are so many people nowadays that are so anxious and they're so just scared about the future that all they do
Yeah.
is second guess themselves. You have to be able to sit down and breathe and relax and try
Yeah.
and just clear your mind of what's going on, to be able to then realize that regardless of what happens, it's going to be okay. It's just those feelings and stuff of, you don't know the future, so then that works you up even more. You gotta just, it's okay, dude, like, just relax a little bit, sit down, it's going to be all right, good or bad, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It'll keep on going.
it'll keep going. There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you, Tony, so much for sitting down and talking with me for an hour. I really do appreciate you, telling me about film,
Sure.
educating me on that whole thing, because like I said, I'm very clueless to when it comes to filmmaking. Like, I sit in the movie theater, I look at the stuff or the screen, I'm like, man, that was a good movie, and that's all I think about.
And that's what the whole point of
Yeah.
it. And if you come away with something, then that's even more so.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Daniel, thank you so much. This has been a great pleasure for me.
yeah.
I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun too. Real quick, I will say this.
Mhm.
When we're done, go ahead and email me anything that you would want me to put in the notes. Like maybe the link to your guys' website, or any of
Okay.
anything that you would want me to put there. But I will say this real quick. Do you want to promote anything? Do you want to take this time to kind of say what you're up to?
Sure. The biggest thing that we're trying to get done is our first feature. It's called San Francisco Stories. It's 5 stories set in San Francisco, and they interlink and cross over.
Ooh.
And it's, we're very happy with it. But yeah, it's a bear moving it up the hill.
Mm.
I would suggest, if people could visit my YouTube channel, which is under the name Kingfisher Talking Pictures. There's 2 films there I think people would enjoy.
Mm.
The Ghosts of Highway 20
Mhm.
and Grandmama Tledeskanu Comes to America. Don't worry about spelling it. You'll see it. It's the word you can't pronounce.
Gotcha.
And those are probably, my 2 best short little things that I think people will enjoy.
Mm.
And, if they happen to want to spend some time, the Kingfisher Radio Hour is my podcast. And that's got some fun stuff on it too.
Gotcha. But yeah, of course, email me all of that stuff so then I can put it down in case if,
You
they
got
want to just do that. And then I will say this, and I say this to anyone who has a podcast, I would be more than happy to guest on yours somehow, some way,
Thank
if you
you.
would like that. If you don't, totally fine. Just kind of letting you know, in case if you're like, hey, like I'd love to. So if you need me, I'm there. I'm available. Just shoot me an
I
email.
appreciate
We'll
it.
figure something out.
Yeah, it's one of those things that so far mine has been, apart from some older stuff, just basically me doing all the voices of a story. But
Gotcha.
it's a little flat, and I'm really realizing I need to get some more voices in there.
Yeah.
So, something definitely I'll keep in mind, and we'll try and see if we can figure it out.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thanks
Okay.
again, Tony. I really do appreciate it, and I really did have a lot of fun. I hope you have a great week. I hope your week
thank you.
is good, and you have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. You have a great Thanksgiving too.
Thanks.
Take care.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was awesome. Thanks, Tony. Dude, like, woo, that was fun. Because I'm not very knowledgeable about filmmaking, dude. That was really cool to kind of be able to take a dive in the director's seat, if you will, and kind of just see what's going on, you know? Thank you for being just an easy person to talk to. Like, here's the thing, and not to, downplay anyone else, but like, it's so nice to me, and it's so easy for me when I can ask a question, and they just, and you guys just go for it for like 5 minutes. Like that is so nice for me. And so thank you, Tony, for one, just, you were able to fill up good time with good, honest, knowledgeable information, like that. Like I say every time, the reason is that I want to learn, I want to understand people, and you definitely taught me something there that I really do appreciate. So thank you so much, man. I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors. I while we were talking, I actually kind of pulled up your tab and was kind of looking at everything and some of the stuff you were doing. You guys are freaking killing it. So keep doing what you're doing, and great things will keep coming your way. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Across the Pond. If you enjoyed this episode a lot, please check out some of my other episodes. I've had some great conversations with a ton of people on a variety of subjects. If you know of a friend or a family member, or even maybe that one person that's not really part of your family, but they are, like that uncle, and you think that they would like an episode, please share it with them. I want to thank Mark for the logo, and I want to thank the Black Couch label and All EH for the music. And I want to thank you, the listener, for giving this about an hour and a half of your time. I really do appreciate it. I want to ask one more thing of you. If you can, on whatever platform you're listening on, please leave a rating. I have episodes that come out every Sunday and every other Thursday. Tune in next time for another awesome episode of Across the Pond.